Hey guys, it's me, Monster58. I'm bringing you guys a video that was definitely spur of the moment. Um, is definitely spur of the moment. No planning of what I want to talk about or anything like that. Even though realistically, when it comes to my Let's Plays, I don't really plan about what I want to talk about because I like the commentary to be sort of off the top of my head, right? But today's a more serious video, which is why I sort of sound a bit somber. And the reason I'm making this video is because, so today is September 4th, 2023. Yesterday, the 3rd, my friend sent me this Twitter post as you scroll through, scroll through social media as most people do. And what ended up happening is the post was about Steve Harwell. For those of you who don't know Steve Harwell, I bet you've heard his songs before. He is the lead singer of the hit band Smash Mouth. And obviously, Smash Mouth is not only popular with general audiences because of the music throughout the years, but popular just because of the memes, right? You know, All Star is that big song that everybody memes on, and they did songs for Shrek and amongst other things. So this post that my friend sent me was about Steve Harwell and how he was in hospice care and unfortunately had some sort of liver failure and only had a few days to live as per his manager. Now, I don't know any of the other specific details. I just know that he's surrounded by his family and his friends. And today, September 4th, 2023, I went out to go to the gym in the morning. Came back, was looking to round up some food to make sure that I could fill myself up after with with some energy after obviously pumping some iron. And what ended up happening is get back, I'm doing all my stuff and shower, scrolling through social media, just waiting for my food to be good to go. And what ended up happening is I look on Twitter and the first thing I see is Steve Harwell passed away at the age of 56. And first off, at the age of 56, that's young. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, in the retrospect of being in my mid 20s, yes, that's pretty old, right? But in the grand retrospect of how often, the general public lives to, right? Um, that's young, especially for someone who was the lead singer of one of, a very big hit band, right? The reason I'm making this video is because Smash Mouth actually means a lot to me. Now, I didn't really listen to any of their music besides knowing All Star, maybe a couple other songs. But there's one song in particular that hits home for me. For those of you who were a kid in the late 90s and the early 2000s, you guys might remember a little movie series, especially if you were into cars, obviously, like I am, is the movie series Hot Wheels World Race Highway 35 slash Acceleracers as they continued the series. And as a kid, everyone quotes their, movies being favorite movies, being Toy Story or, some Pixar movie or something else around that time, right? And that's definitely understandable. But for me, especially as you guys know, even though that I do enjoy making YouTube videos and, messing around with action figures, as those are my hobbies, my true passion is with the automotive industry. And the one part of my childhood that kick started my love for cars was this movie series. And guess who made the theme for the very first movie, Highway 35? Smash Mouth. You know what song that was? Hot. For Hot Wheels, right? And the song just fit perfectly for the show, for the movie. That was how the end credits were. They even made a whole music video and like the DVD, and I still have all of the DVDs of the first Highway 35, Acceleracers, Ignition, The Speed of Silence, Breaking Point, as well as The Ultimate Race. And I hope that if some of you are watching, you guys can relate to that. Um, and so, out of all of the music for those movies, the one song I remember the most is Hot. Because I watched Hot Wheels World Race Highway 35 so much when I was a kid. And in addition, my parents know the song because they had to frickin' listen to it every time I watched it. And I watched it a gazillion times, right? More times than I can count. And so to see this man pass away, especially, this past week, week or two, we've had some pretty awful deaths. You know, Jimmy Buffett passed away yesterday. We had as a Bob Barker passed away like a couple of days a day before that. And if you're part of the wrestling community, you guys know that Terry Funk as well as Bray Wyatt passed away. And so there's so much like sad, passings going on. And even though that those were all awful, and especially for like for me for Bray Wyatt, that was a big one for me too because watching him, that was around the time when I got into wrestling was when the Wyatt family was a big thing. But moving on from Bray Wyatt, even though rest God bless and rest his soul. Um, for me, seeing the death of Steve Harwell really hits home. Because I watched that movie so many times as a kid, his voice is ingrained into, and that song is ingrained into my psyche. And in addition to that, when it comes to Hot Wheels Highway 35, it's my favorite movie of all time. It's not perfect, has its issues, but as a kid, that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. If you guys are familiar with what was it, the old, didn't, is it, I think it was a Cartoon Network sub channel called Jetix. Jetix. They had their own website too, where you could play like online flash games that they made. I believe also Kim Possible might have aired on that. I don't remember, but Jetix was the channel network that was airing these movies when they were coming out in the early 2000s. Highway 35, and then all the Acceleracers movies. And sadly, if you're an Acceleracers fan, you know that the last movie got canceled. But besides the point, because I watched these movies so much as a kid, especially Highway 35, seeing this just really hits home. And obviously, I'm not super into the specifics of his death. I just know that he had, issues, and I know he had ongoing health problems. And I also know from what my quick Googling, please take this with a grain of salt. Feel free to correct me. I could be wrong. From what I read, is that he unfortunately had some substance abuse, and I think he was drinking a lot too. And so obviously those two things don't help one another and caused his deterioration of himself over time. I know that in 2016 was when sort of the health problem sort of unfolded, where he was like at a show or something. He ended up slurring his words and yelling at the audience, and then he was quickly rushed to the hospital and announced his retirement shortly after. But regardless, I hope you guys can relate, because I know obviously everyone loves All Star and the memes and Shrek and the memes, right? But for me, where Steve Harwell hits home is his song "Hot," and the importance it had on my childhood, especially watching Hot Wheels Highway 35 World Race and the Acceleracers movies. So, yeah, guys, I guess to leave you guys, hold your loved ones closer. Tell them you love them. Life is too short, everyone. Life is really too short, and if this past couple weeks hasn't been a reminder of that, especially with all these celebrities passing away, um, may this maybe add to your initiative to hold your loved ones closer. So that's all I gotta say. I'm not gonna promote my socials. There's no point to do that. This is a serious video, and I want to apologize one last time if I sound very scatterbrained or anything like that. Just sort of off the cuff, very last minute video. I just wanted to make this to see if you guys can relate as well. So, yeah. With that, guys, I'll catch you on the next video. You guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you. And rest in peace, uh, Steve Harwell. You will be greatly missed. God rest your soul.